nights. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Grind. I am your host, Serafina Maulupe. I am so excited about today's guest. Man, we have a legend with us. First, I am very grateful and honored that he is here. He is a professional wrestler, one-time Intercontinental Champion, two-time World Tag Team Champion, and one-time WWE Tag Team Champion. He is a member of the Anoaʻi family of Samoan wrestlers, father of WWE Tag Team superstars, the Usos. I would love to introduce WWE Hall of Fame legend, Salofa Fatu, better known as Rikishi.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
You know, what a small world. Before we came on here, you'd show me this picture. 20 years ago, I met you through my first cousin, Faith, who is married to your uncle, Uncle Sa.
My uncle Valsa. Yes, that was a memory that I will never forget because I grew up as a big wrestling fan and living in Iowa when I was younger, and then driving out to Carson. I don't remember what the event was for. And, you know, you were in town and my Auntie Faith and Uncle Sa, you know, was like, Rikishi's in town. And so I was so excited, and, you know, they're going to show the picture, you know, during an interview. But yeah, so we took a picture like 20 years ago, and I will never forget that moment.
What a small world. You know, we talk about 20 years, how the wheel turns in the circle of life. And here we are. When I took a photo with you, you were just a young girl.
Yes.
Shout out to Island City, the whole crew. Man, you guys are doing fantastic. Continue the great work.
Thank you so much. You know, first I want to just say thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your time. You know, how are you doing? What's going on in your life right now?
Oh man, this is the second part of my life. I'm able to spend some quality time at home, just resting up my body now, dealing with a lot of the aches and pains from the industry. You know, I've been well retired now for over going close to 20 years now, you know, 17 years, I believe it is. And, you know, just I'm enjoying life. I'm spending a lot of time now, a lot of the new bloodlines that are being born into my family with all my grandkids. I got 9 grandkids now, and I'm trying to tell my kids to slow down.
Yeah, that's so funny. What a blessing! What a blessing!
Yeah, God has been great in my life. You know, every day above ground for me. When I wake up, you know, I'm blessed to be able to breathe another day.
Amazing. Yes, amen to that. You know, so I would love to start off with you being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2015 by your sons. Can you please paint a picture for us in that moment, and, you know, how much that means to you?
Well, you know, a lot of flashbacks when I was actually contacted that I was going to be inducted. You know, my career, rewind back 30 years ago, my career started from the Bay Area. Is where my grandfather, Anoaʻi and Kovale, Anoaʻi. You know, I come from a background of a family of church. And so my career started from the streets of San Francisco in the Bay Area. And to be able to leave the Bay Area and start on this crazy ride of professional wrestling at the age of 17, to be able to come back and be inducted into the same city where I was born and raised was an awesome feeling. It was a feeling of thankful, grateful, accomplishment of the journey of professional wrestling. And I just want to thank all the fans that were able to, you know, to vote me into the Hall of Fame in the city that I love, born and raised, the Bay Area. And it's just, it's an awesome feeling. And to be able to be inducted by, you know, your own seed, you know, my boys, was even sweeter, you know, and they're in the industry now, and to be able to, you know, put their father in the Hall of Fame, they understand what it is. what the long journey of this professional wrestling has took their father to be able to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I had pretty much the whole island of Samoa there.
Yeah.
When you're from the city,
Yeah.
they gonna come out. I mean, I forgot how many tickets I had to get for the Hall of Fame. I think I went to got 200. They almost put me back out of the Hall of Fame because I had family members coming through.
Yeah, no, it's just a blessing. And I mean, just throughout your career, you definitely deserve to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. So you mentioned it earlier to when you grew up in San Francisco. Can you just touch on a little bit of how your childhood was like and growing up?
Well, you know what? My childhood was rough. Again, I come from a background of preachers, the church. We was church 24/7. But my life was going the opposite. I was going with pretty much doing what I wasn't supposed to do. And at the age of 17, coming out of school, being caught with a drive-by shooting, really caused a lot of it was a wake-up call for me. When I got shot with the drive-by shooting at the age of 17 or 18 in 87, I believe it was. All I can remember was when I woke up in the ambulance. I mean, when I was in the ambulance, I could see my mother's face over me, crying. And, when I got to the hospital, General Hospital in San Francisco, they pronounced me dead for 3 minutes. And, somehow, with the grace of God, he was able to, pump breath of life back into me. And I came out of it. And so, I was in the hospital for 2 months, laying on the bed, and, I seen my family members, everybody was just in havoc. They were crying. There were some that are upset, majority of my brothers and my cousins, they just wanted to go out there and find this person. You know how we get, it's like revenge,
Yeah.
You almost killed, one of our own. So, after, laying in bed for 2 months there, it really gave me a lot of soul searching. Why was I put back into this world, for a second chance? And all I can see, all I remember was just the atmosphere of my family, being surrounded around me, but it was hectic. And I felt like, I kind of blame myself because the domino effect was, if in case they were to find this person, which today they still haven't found the person,
Yeah.
that the domino effect could have been, when you're not in the right frame of mind, they could have went out there, did damage to this person, and then, turn around, now they're in jail for life or whatever the case may be. And, it was just time for me, when I came out, it was time for me to move on, and, my mother knew that, and my father knew that if they didn't, send me out of the city, that, the next thing was going to happen, they would probably find me 6 feet deep.
Yeah.
And, away I went, and they, sent me to Uncle Alpha and Sika. And that's when this career has started with professional wrestling. So, but to go backwards, if this guy here, if you actually are listening somehow, hey man, I just want to say I forgive you, man. I forgive you, be it a dude or a girl. I don't know who it was, but just know this, that I forgive you. And I hope that one day I'm able to meet you, and then we can hug each other and then, move forward. But, understand that.
Wow. Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that story. But you touched on it a little bit, now you're introduced to wrestling, to your uncle Alpha and Sika. How was that? Getting started into that. How was it?
Well, that transition was, keep in mind, I'm a city boy.
Yeah.
And then, all I see is like everybody else, you see Uncle and them on TV, and they're just as larger than life heroes to Samoan people because, back in the day, wrestling, they were the only ones, I Chief Peter Maivia and Uncle Afonsika. So, I was nervous because, all I know is what I see on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and so, when I got there, it's the normal five hours. You do the fouls, I think my uncle was happy because, when I came through, you're able to speak Samoan to, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
his surroundings was not too many there, like wrestlers all the time, they don't speak Samoan. So
Yeah.
we would always say, "Kalofa ako, wa mayo."
Yeah.
Yeah, ese feau fai. So he would talk to me. "Ah, la koe karauko ka longkuko." So, but we'll make my son Yate is what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that, start to go into, building the ring up, putting the ring up, putting the ring down, start driving the ring truck. I was doing like all the labor,
Mm-hmm.
but
So are you in where are you located? Where are you at right now? Like
I actually, right now, when I went,
sorry, yes, when you're with your uncle Afa and Uncle Sika.
so yeah, it was in the East Coast in Hamden, Connecticut,
Got it. Okay.
back in the day. And, it's so, it's city boy. We don't know nothing about snow.
Mm.
Oh man, when I got to Connecticut, it was freezing snow, and so I was like a lot of it. I was like kaboom, like talking to myself because I hated just cold weather, But anyhow, I watched, I watched a lot of things unfold in the industry. How my uncles trained, being in the ring. I've heard a lot of conversations when they're talking business with promoters and booking talent and stuff like that. And then, how they trained in the morning, being weightlifting class, just their daily routine,
Mm-hmm.
that stuck with me. Like every day I was watching this. And, we didn't have an academy to train, a gym to go train. We were self-taught with our uncles right there in the backyard. They showed the documentary of Yoko, that there was a ring that they showed there, and that was the ring that myself, Yokozuna, the Tonga kid, was my brother, Sam, Big Sam, Samu, who's a head shrinker, my cousin. So we all trained in that professional. I mean that ring there, and that was our life. We traveled on the road. When somebody, when a wrestler didn't make it to the show for whatever reason, Uncle Alpha or Uncle Sega, here, go get your stuff. I'm gonna throw you in the ring. But I don't even know. And just do what you know. And you know, it's something about Polynesians.
Yeah.
All our life, when we're in the church, we're on stage. When we're in the luau, we're on stage. So you just know how, you just have that instinct how to perform. And so when I was given that opportunity in Connecticut to jump to the ring, it was like, like I belong there.
Mm-hmm.
I know what to do because I see it every day, and I would have it like while I'm out in the ring. But in the meantime, there's that little bird that's on my shoulder talking into my ear what to do, what not to do in the ring. And the rest just came organically.
No, definitely. And you mentioned Yokozuna. We're gonna touch on him later in the interview. But I'd love, you have such an amazing timeline of your wrestling career, and I want to get into early when you're known as the Samoan SWAT team, you and your cousin Samu. Is
Mm.
that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so are you able to elaborate on that and when that started and that experience for you?
Yeah, I think that was in the late '80s where I was actually, so when I was with my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
I actually quit up there and came back
Okay.
to the Bay Area, right? And so when I came back, to me, like wrestling wasn't for me. Like I was tired of like, you know, putting up the ring, tearing the ring down, driving the ring up. So I came back and my mom told me, well, then you're not just going to lay around the house. You're going to go find you a job, go find a career, blah, blah, blah. So I actually went and I started a job at Safeway, a supermarket.
Okay.
And I was a courtesy clerk. And so I busted a courtesy clerk, pulling carts and everything for about a good year. And while I was doing that, I started to hate doing that. Like it wasn't for me. But, you know, in the meantime, my cousin Big Sam, he was already, you know, he got a shot. And I seen him start to, you know, he was on TV and doing his thing as the third Samoan with Uncle Alpha and Sika. And so I'm like pushing the car, said, dang it. And I said, I stuck it out. It could have been me up there, blah, blah, blah. So somewhere down the line, as I was working, I got a call from my cousin, Big Sam, who is Samu. We call him Big Sam in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me and said there was, am I still interested in, you know, working in the business? I said, well, yeah, man, what you got? I said, well, we got a shot to go down there to Texas. And, you know, I had no idea if I was by myself or, and he said that we would be teaming up together, you know, as, you know, the birth of the Samoan SWAT team. So I was kind of happy because I knew the experience of my cousin Big Sam
Mm-hmm.
had in the ring, and that I, you know, I wouldn't be by myself, you know, just, you know, in the matches and so forth. So, you know, when we teamed up, I've learned a lot, you know, a bunch of, you know, it's the psychology of how to work in matches with Big Sam. You know, a lot of credit of my success of understanding how, you know, in-ring psychology and how your movements, theatrical movements and stuff like that came from Big Sam. And we were there for, man, I want to say 3 years as building this brand of the Samoan SWAT team.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we always we hated the fact that, you know, people were looking at me and Big Sam like, you know, my uncles Alpha and Sika,
Uh-huh.
meaning, you know, their gimmick was like, for the record, all Samoans, we speak very well English, you know, just so I'm just throwing it out there. But for our uncle's character back in the day, you know, the vicious, they don't speak English. And we hated that. You know, when we formed SST, that was one thing we said, man, when we do our thing, man, we're gonna speak English. We're gonna cut our promos. We're gonna let the world know that we speak English.
No.
And so, you know, for 3 years,
Mhm.
we traveled. I mean, all, you know how big Texas is.
Yeah.
And when I came to Texas, Fina, you know, then find out that, you know, we're working like every day, like, up and down the roads, but it was like $30 a night for a booking. Then I start to evaluate and question myself again.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know, I came from a job there. I didn't have to travel. I got a place to sleep at home, get my weekly paycheck, but I was unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
Then I come out here to do something that, man, this excites me. But at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just came to like, we just had to keep pushing forward. You know, we were always taught if you know your worth, you believe in
Yeah.
your worth will build up. And
Mm-hmm.
so the grind never stopped. That, you know, our goal as me and Big Sam was to get to the WWE. And so we hit a lot of these independent circuits. I mean, you name it, you know, and it was mainly, there was no money, but it was mainly to go out there to tell the people that are out there in the professional wrestling world that the SST were here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then you know, fast forward 3 years later from Texas, we moved to Atlanta. And we moved to Atlanta. We had no money, man. We were like living on credit cards. And we were like in a small car. I had my twin boys, they were in the back. We had to lay the back seats down and so forth. So, you know, we had back in the day, you making that type of money, I would go to 99-cent store and I would get cereals at a 99 cents a box, you know, and I get cereal, I put it in there and I would get like a small cooler with milk and stuff and bowls. But when we go to the hotels, I would actually steal the pillows and the blankets, you know, just so my kids and, you know, can have blankets and pillow to lay down just to make the best of it. Because basically we were homeless, sleeping in our cars, but we're on TV, professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
And so we took a chance and we left Texas and went to Atlanta, which is a bigger city.
Yep.
And during the time there was NWA back in the day. And this is where, you know, we went there for a tryout and there wasn't no guaranteed contract. But they said if they liked us, that they would sign us.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it took us, I believe it was like 15 hours from Dallas, Texas. We had a lot of soul searching and talking.
Yeah.
Meaning, hey, man, this is our break. You know, this is it. You know, we get there, we just gonna turn Samoan and we just gonna take it, you know?
Yeah.
So we had no idea who the guys that we were wrestling there coming to Atlanta. And Fina, you know, by the time we got out that car, you know, they put us up on TV. We had our uniform was regular tights, regular wrestling trunks. We didn't have enough money to go buy stuff to get ready for the big show.
Yeah.
You know? And we said that our action is going to speak louder than words for us. And we got in there, what we call get over on TV.
Mm-hmm.
We got up there and we just took it. I felt we did good. My partner Samu felt we did good. You know, you feel it in your heart. Like that match was money.
Yeah.
By the time we got back, you know, they wanted to sit down and negotiate a contract. And that's where we met who we know today as Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns' manager today.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's
20 something years fast forward, everything's come back full circle.
Yeah.
And so, and that was that.
That was that. And now it's 1992 and it's the head shrinkers. You know, the head shrinkers. Now I'm just going down the timeline of your wrestling career and I want you to just touch on all of it. So now it's 1992. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So 1992, we're there in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have yet, head shrinkers came 95.
Okay.
So 92, we in Atlanta now. And as we, you know, worked there in Atlanta for a while, for the first 2 years, things start to go south.
Okay.
Meaning that, you know, the politicking of the game of the industry, we just didn't play ball. Meaning we knew what we were worth. We'd be damned if we were going to take a pay cut, you know, knowing that others are making, you know, more than we are, but yet we are, you know, we're in the same matches and so forth. And so it was time for us to move on. You know, it wasn't, you know, we wasn't gonna sell out to the politicking of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So we took off and we all moved to Pensacola, Florida from Atlanta. And so in 92, then when we left Atlanta, we went to Pensacola. And it was myself, the Tonga Kid,
Mm-hmm.
Yokozuna, which was Rodney back, and Big Sam had moved up towards north. And while we were waiting, you know, there was no work out there.
Mm-hmm.
There was no independent shots calling. There was nothing. So, us three, myself, Rodney, and my brother Tonga Kid, we worked at the shipyard in Pensacola. Get that, right? Come
Yeah.
from professional wrestling to the big time TV for a couple of years and then back down. So we worked at the shipyard in Pensacola, and we were moving. Pensacola is very hot. It's like Samoa.
Hmm.
Beautiful city, the beach life, but it had to be like 100 degrees in these containers. And inside these containers, there were 110-pound flour bags. And we would grab those things there, and we start in the morning from 9 to 3. And I'll tell you, Fina, while I was in there, we were grabbing these bags, our fingers, you could see it was bleeding and just from working all day in there. And for some reason, the number 30 comes back up. You work all that time and you get like $30, $35 a check they would sign to give to you.
Wow.
Now, myself and TK, we would, get our money. Yoko, of course, Rodney, of course, he would have another guy, whoever that was, didn't get picked for the job
Hmm.
that day. You go to the shipyard, you're raising your hand, they pick, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So Rodney would pick a guy who didn't get picked, but Rodney would tell you, I'll give you half of my paycheck. So the guy would do the work and Rodney would sit on the flowers. He would sit on a sack of flowers just because he had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And so, after that, our day, we would get our checks and then we would go to the nearest liquor store where we would see Mama China. And this lady, she owns a liquor store, a Chinese lady. And we would all come cash our checks. We would cash our checks there, Fina, and then we would take our money and we would get like back in the day, the old English, a bottle of 40 was like $1.25 or something like that. Man's got to have their cold drink after a hard day's of work.
Hmm.
So we would all get our old English 40, and then we would go down to the nearest. There was this pub, a pool hall. So this pool hall is every day. There's old men and people that are drinking that are retired, and these guys here over there, gambling. They retired, so they're just drinking, enjoying life, and gambling, on pool games. So we would walk over there and we would just sit there and we would watch them, play. In the meantime, we were kind of all spread out because we didn't want so much, attention coming to it. So Rodney will walk in first, and like 20 minutes later, TK, because we're outside finishing our old English. So finally we come in when we're all there, and then we'll kind of look at Rodney. Rodney will kind of like point. So he's pointing to the guy that's been, winning in all the bets there.
Hmm.
So here I come. So I would take mine, the guy he points at, the guy that's been winning. So I'll bet the first against the guy. And I'm already knowing I'm going to lose. So I lose. So then I tell the guy double or nothing. I'm already knowing I'm going to lose. I lose again. So in the meantime, remember now, we only had $30 each.
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to gamble with all our money, all three of us. That was our deal. So I would take the other $30 from Rodney, and then we turn around and tell the guy, all right, double or nothing. By this time here, it's like $40 for the pot. Double or not, that's $80.
Hmm.
Boom. And now, as soon as he commits, we turn around and then we would go in the trunk and we'd open the trunk, and then I'd pull out my cue stick. So that cue stick there was my father's cue stick when he used to shoot pool as a shark in the Castle Lane back in the day in the Bay Area. So I get that cue stick, now I pull it, boom, there's $80. Now I give the guy again double or nothing on the 80.
Oh.
Well, we walk away for 160. So I'll give my brother TK money.
Hmm.
We would split it all up equally. And this would continue on over and over and over for I think about 2 months or so, two or
Yeah.
3 months, until we start to to get a call back for the industry. But that's how we fed our family for a minute there after we got out of professional wrestling because there was nothing.
Yeah.
And during that time, there was that ring that we all see as Yoko's documentary.
Yeah.
That small little 14-foot ring, you probably couldn't fit our whole family members in that ring. That's how small it was. But that was all we had to play with,
Yeah.
you know. And so we just kept at it. We knew that one day that the call come, blah blah blah, and in the meantime, we just found ourselves, practicing every day.
Hmm.
We knew that professional wrestling was our call. You
Yeah.
know that there was these type of speed bumps, that happened in our life during our careers. But the thing is, just we never quit. We knew that in due time it was going to be our time. We just gotta stay ready to be ready.
Yeah, man, I just want to acknowledge the resilience you guys had. You guys just kept going, and it was just like a roller coaster, and this is
Right.
what my show is about, is just inside the grind it takes to become like a WWE Hall of Famer, like become, Rikishi. And now can you just this is just totally off, my rundown, but can you just touch on and just the importance and just the commitment it takes to of like in the grind, inside the grind, and just how important it is, and just to not give up. And when adversity hits, I've learned myself that when you get hit with adversity or a challenge, like the real character within you, it reveals like you're either gonna fold or you're gonna overcome this. So like, just hearing your story so far, like can you just touch on the importance and like tell us just how important the grind is?
You know what? It just goes within the person himself.
Hmm.
I know for me that there was no turning back. There was a goal that was set, from the beginning. Sometimes, as I can see it, but then
Hmm.
there was, took me off to the left turn, and, for whatever reason, into, things didn't go the way they were supposed to go. But my drive was to come back to it, to find a way
Yeah.
to come back to this and accomplish this. And for me, it was my surroundings that, my surroundings was a close, tight circle, being with my family members, my cousins, such as Rodney, Big Sam, and we all, in a weird way, we didn't plan to be professional wrestlers,
Hmm.
but because of our surroundings and what we seen was ahead of us, from our uncles, we believe that we can do the same thing. And to be able to have you know, members, or be it friends or family, whoever the case may be, that if you have somebody that's encouraging you, that you can do this. Yeah, well, yes, we can do this. And, having your frame of minds come together of how can we get there
Hmm.
versus, dang, we just quit. Because there was not at one time did I ever thought about quitting. I questioned about it. Was this for me? But I never thought about quitting. You know, the opportunities in due time came, and I'm very happy. Like when you go through things in life like you plan it to go, and you have your ups and downs, by the time it comes around, you're going to appreciate a lot more. Like I appreciate all the failures that I had
Hmm.
in, in this journey, because what it did was help me, it helped me smarten up, to be able to, to understand the route that I should go. And for my lessons, it's also helps, my kids that are coming into the industry, or those that are, let my lessons be your lessons,
Hmm.
and, so, it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of patience. It's a lot of sacrifice. Sometimes you think you're never going to get there, but you just got to keep pushing forward and keep pushing forward and never let anybody tell you, or try to tell you that this is the way you should go. For me, it was in my gut feeling. Like I might not be an athlete like Yoko or cousin Big Sam, or, maybe, in my gut I felt something different. And so you always got to, feel that and go with your gut feeling, you know.
Hmm.
It might
Yeah.
not always be the might not always be the decisions others want, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
especially you're being around a lot of your cousins, you know how that gets.
Yep.
Oh, you should go do that. Oh, you should go do that. No,
Hmm.
you should do what you want to do.
Yeah. No, exactly. Amen to that. And what's best for you, you can't let like other opinions, get in the way. But now it's the era of Rikishi. Now let's touch on that, and when that begins for you. So let's yes, Rikishi. Now it's Rikishi's era. Let's touch on that.
Yeah. So fast forward to Rikishi era. This character actually came up during 90-day clause of my other character, which was the Sultan. So the 90-day
Mm.
clause of that character was about ready to come to an end. And, during that time, I've gained a lot of weight, like up to 450 during that time. So I've been off for a minute. And so the company, they seen like the weight that I've gained, but they were still, amazed to how fast I could still move. And so what happened was uh, Vince always had an idea for Yoko, which was Rodney, to be in a sumo gear,
Mhm.
like a real sumo gear. And of course, we all see Rodney's legacy. He had the long tights and the sumo belt.
Mhm.
And so I'm like this, I'm born and was taught in this industry. Opportunity comes in once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, 3 months, I'm done. There's no more contract. Every weekly paycheck is done. What's next? So when this opportunity came, I was so confident of the training of my uncles in Alpha and Sika has given to me that I can make any character work.
Yeah.
So let me repeat that. I was so confident from my training that I can make any character work.
Mm.
So when they came up with the idea of Rikishi, and there you see the thong. He said, I wanted you to be a shoot meaning real in our industry. I
Mhm.
want you to be a shoot sumo wrestler. The whole gear, I want your buttocks to be, you're wearing the same thing what sumo wrestlers wear. And so, I'm listening to Vince McMahon and the crew talk, but it flies by my head. That goes to show you how not important it was to me.
Mhm.
Meaning the only person I thought about was my cousin Rodney.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have bite off of his legacy. He worked hard to build Yokozuna. And so once they talked about with the thaw, or
Yeah.
now we're going a whole new different way now.
Yeah.
you know, there's nobody gonna remember me like Rodney wearing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, the design came, and I'm looking at it. It's what you see on sumo wrestlers.
Yeah.
All right, and I didn't have a problem with it. Again, I've been on the stage all my life, so as anything as me being shy to have my buttocks hang out there was none of that. My only concern was my kids.
Yeah.
I took that drawing home, and I had a seat down on the dinner table with everyone. And I said, listen, there's this new character that I'm gonna, you know, attempt to do, and I wanted to show you kids before you kids, see this, and just so you understand, so you're aware of it. Because I know, my kids are in high school, and I know how ruthless high school kids can be.
Oh yeah.
At least my daddy ain't out there with a right? But so I showed, and they were all supportive. They're high school kids. I don't even think they even cared that I blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
in my mind, as a parent and as an industry, as a performer, as an entertainer, I'm looking for that next payday.
Yeah.
And so, once I got they were okay with it. I said to myself, I'm going to put my everything into this character.
Yeah.
And so that's where I just wanted to make a few changes. Meaning, with a sumo, when's the last time you seen a bleach blonde hair sumo?
Oh, never.
So that's how that came along.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And
Yeah.
then, we thought about it. They put us out on TV, but, during the matches, they would have a dark match, meaning you're at the TV arena, but you're not being on live TV. So
Got
they would that's when me and Too Cool, Scotty Too Hottie, and Grandmaster Sexy, we all got together. But before we went out there, we said, man, I used to dance back in the day in Pier 39 in the Bay Area. I think I was 14 years old. My cousin Big Sam, he used to he used to hold the boombox, and then I do all the pop locking and people throw coins in there.
Oh.
So anyhow, before we went out, I was talking to these two Palangi kids. I said, hey man, you guys know how to dance? I said, oh, this is all I know how to do. So one, Scotty did the worm. I said, great, you're gonna do the worm. Grandmaster did he called the Michael Jackson shuffle. I said, okay, you go ahead and do that. So the music kit, we went out there, we had our match. People, when they seen me come out with the blonde hair and the black skirt, they knew it was me, but then they seen how, I look different, meaning my hair looked different, a new character, but I've also gained weight.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 450. And keep in mind, nobody ever seen me yet.
Yeah.
And so when I took off that black skirt, Fina, you can almost hear the whole, like 30,000
Oh my
fans in there. It's like you can hear a pin drop. Like they couldn't believe what they're looking at. This big 450-pound guy who we used to know, and you're in the ring now with a thong.
Yeah.
And it was almost that sound of like, wow, what are we looking at here?
Yeah.
And so when I took that noise, that energy, what I felt there, that what I did, I channeled my mind into, all right, it's time to give them the shock value. And that's where, just because my costume was different, but my style of where I came from as a Samoan, a head shrinker, a Samoan, it was go time. It was pride time.
Yeah.
It was time for me to wrestle like who I am, but with a different character.
Yeah.
And as that unfold, that day, you can hear like people just start clapping, like they appreciated the performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we got the 1, 2, 3, and then we came out with the dance, they were shocked because usually in wrestling you see 1, 2, 3. The referee raised your hand, all right, goodbye. Their music, they leave. Oh, but not this one.
Oh yeah.
The 1, 2, 3 happened. People thought we were leaving. And then that's when the yellow glasses came. I thought, man, you take these yellow glasses, you put on the big sumo guy, which transformed this sumo guy into a dancing machine.
Man.
So it was all part of marketing this character of this
Yeah.
And we tried it. The next thing you know, we was never on a dark match anymore. We were on TV, Monday Night Raw, main event, and sales of merchandise, yellow glasses, two cool Rikishi t-shirts were just flying off the shelf back in the day.
Man, I just want to acknowledge how that song, like how I start dancing when that song comes on. Every time you look fine today,
It's very addicting.
Yeah, it gets stuck in my head. Like, so I just want to acknowledge that. But like Rikishi, like, man, you're just one of my favorite wrestlers. And now I would love for us to touch on, we spoke about him, but Yokozuna, my family and I, we watched his documentary. It was just amazing to watch. And, I'd love for you to talk about how much he meant for you, in your career.
Well, first of all, Rodney is a Uso. Loved him. Love him, then love him today. We all miss him. If you got a chance to know Rodney was not like what you see on TV. Rodney is Kanaka Alofa, always giving. He's a jokester. He loves his family, loves his friends. He was never big-headed in the industry. As big as he got in the industry, he was so. You walk into a restaurant, all the boys are eating. Just another small story of many. On the road, you walk into the restaurant, and all the boys are eating. Before the boys go to leave to try to pay their tab, Rodney would already pick it up. It would be like $800-900, and this is just on and on. Just talk about a guy who broke bread and just shared, everything that he got. He made it, he made it good for everybody else. A man of church, he comes from the Carson City out there, and so he was just a good, solid cat, like so warming. There was never a time that I ever seen Rodney upset. It could be the worst thing, like, hey man, I lost my job, man. And then, he'd be like, don't worry about it. There'd be other opportunities. He was just so laid back like that, Yeah. He was a Oos that loved West Coast, man. He was a West Coast to the heart, like, love rap music. He always used to think he was the king of freestyle rap. I used to tell him, hey, you're horrible. You're Watts. One of these days I'm gonna come up with my own album. And so, he was a guy that loved to teach. He loved the business. He always loved talking to the new wrestlers that come inside the locker room. He would tell them, like, his advice of what he think that a person should, utilize into their match. And that tells me right there he's wanting to help that person grow. Yeah. And he was a great father. Yeah. Man, great father, tremendous brother. I mean, to his sisters, Vila and Venus, and his brother Josh. His kids, Justin and Kehlani, they were very small when their father passed away. And when they watched the documentary, to be able to hear a lot of the giants in the industry talk about how their father was, how they know their father, was very rewarding, to the kids. And I was so happy that WWE, took time to make a solid documentary of Rodney. That one documentary, there's so much to tell about that. There's not even enough time. You got to have at least 5 doc series for Rodney. Yeah.
That was such an amazing documentary to watch. And now, do you have one favorite moment in your career that you could tell us about?
In this career, there's special moments that come across, your life, and I think about how long it took me to get there, and how long, your memory goes back to the darkest times, the coldest nights, the times to where there was not even enough food to go around to feed your family. And, the time that I got invited back to do the 1,000 celebration of Monday Night Raw, and, my kids always watch me perform. But to be able to grace the squared circle, with my boys during their time was something that, was I was very proud that I was alive to be able to have that moment with them. And they got to feel what the magic of what their father brings to the ring. And it was God has a way of utilizing people for each one to teach one. Because, as the wheel turns, your time has come, your time has passed. But what is that? What is it that you have left behind? And to be able to be in the ring to celebrate the 1,000 and to perform with my boys in the live circle. If you go back and you watch the dancing there, it was so emotional for me that I had to hide my tears from coming down. And when we hugged each other, it was like, this is the magic. We know now what the magic is, Dad. Yeah. And the magic was you. And so, you can never, when you come across times like this, for those of you listening, you reflect back on what's really important. Why are you doing what you're doing, and why is it that was your goal to begin with? And, at the end of the day, friends come and go. Yeah. Business come and go, jobs come and go. But your family is your rock. Your family is your close circle. At least that's what drove me to never quit. To never look back, to continue to move forward. And I thank God, now, years later, I'm behind the scenes, and, my family, my boys are, doing where we left off. And that door continues to stay open as long as they work hard and to continue to do right by it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That gave me goosebumps, and I really appreciate you sharing that to me and to all of our listeners. But I'd love to just, also touch on, what you're doing now. There's Samoan Dynasty, and then you have your show, the Rikishi Driver Talk Show. And I know that you were a judge for a show on CBS called The World's Best. I saw that as well. So, I mean, I know you're involved in so much, I'd love for you to touch on what you're doing, what you're involved in right now.
Well, my heart and soul now is with our academy with my cousin Reno. It's my way of giving back to the industry that, was good to me. And, professional wrestling is such a huge business nowadays. And there's so many kids and so many wrestling fans that you're very interested in wanting to pursue, professional wrestling. So, we opened up a platform, a gym called Knox Pro. That's KNOKXPRO.com, where my cousin and myself, we teach these kids the ins and outs of professional wrestling. And so they come in there, we teach them techniques, we teach them how to lock up, how to speak, locker room etiquette. I do film classes once a week with them where I, just throw in a random film and I have them try to look from a wrestler's eye, from my eye, what they're looking at, to see and try to perfect their craft. Why did, how come his ring awareness was off? How come his headlock takeover wasn't, in the right spot? What happened? So I try to educate them that way so they can understand, exactly what the industry is about. And so, with the classes, I'm busy with my Rikishi driver talk show. Um, you know, I just I didn't plan to do this talk show. It just kind of stumbled onto while I was doing my classes, my Zoom classes on a weekly basis. My son, he was talking to me about that. You ever thought, because your classes are always full. My boy is 12 years old. And I said, no, I say, I think you ought to do some type of class like that because you can teach a lot of people that are wanting to learn about professional wrestling. So I'm thinking that's going to be a lot of Zoom classes I got to do. So I got together with my cousin Reno, who's my partner at Knoxville Academy, and then one of my producers is students that goes to that class, who's Hamza. He's actually from Pakistan, and we came together and we talked about, just why don't you just open up your own talk show and do your own deal. This way, the whole world can hear you. And so that was that. So I do that, once or twice a week. I train the students on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And then with the pandemic, our industry has hurt so bad from the pandemic.
Yeah.
Being that we're performers, entertainers, and you have to have a live crowd to be able to, book arenas, blah, blah, blah. So we coming up with this idea at our place. It's like a studio. It's a gym / studio, recording place. And so we came up with this idea, who is now live every Tuesday. We run shows. And what we do, there's so much independent kids, Fina, that are around the SoCal area, even in Nevada, up north and so forth. They don't have no place to go work.
Yeah.
They don't have a place, the promoter won't fly them from here to New York. Just, it doesn't pan out. So we've came up with this new idea to we're going to run every Tuesdays, and then we showcase a lot of the independent kids that are, around the area. But more so, the students that train with us, we're able to give them that platform. That's like, okay, you're going to show your training in front of a live crowd. It's going to be more people watching because we're online. Everybody's watching now. And so it's a real big deal to when I go back and I watch my students on camera, to see the progress when they first came through the doors, now how they're working now, performing on TV. It's a happy feeling. It's a good feeling for a coach, and to be able to see them like, man, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. So I stay pretty busy. I'm happy I'm not on the road, anymore. And so that's my life now. It's the academy, it's the talk show, and it's doing the live shows every Tuesday, which we go live on. We actually go live tomorrow. We'll be live on Twitch, and we'll be on our Knox Pro Entertainment Facebook. Everything Knox Pro.
Knox Pro, everything.
You can see.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing that. But as we just get towards the end, what is your message to people that want to be successful in their life, or want to be where you're at?
Well, for me, if I could give any advice, I didn't plan, so I would say plan it out.
Mm-hmm.
Know this, that sometimes your plans are broken, and you come back and figure it out to where to continue to move forward. Don't ever take, I try to take, I take a lot of the positive advice versus the negative.
Yeah.
I understand, in this world that we live in, and that there's people that sometimes that don't want to see you succeed. And sometimes those same people can be in your inner circle, which I call sleepers.
Yeah.
And so, it goes back to me, follow your gut. As long as you're doing what you feel, you can feel when something's real, that decision is meant to happen, because you feel it in you. Okay, nobody knows how you feel inside of you.
Yeah.
And so, be able to take, you can take, hear other, advice from different people, but at the end of the day, you got to, keep pushing forward, man. Keep pushing forward. Because I always say this, they always ask me, when is the time? I always say the time is now. Because tomorrow ain't promised to none of one of us.
Yep.
Meaning, so why are we waiting? You kids have what they call, I always talk about this a lot. This thing right here, there's a thing that's called Google. Yep. So you guys have so much opportunity than what we did back in the day. We didn't have with the technology that you kids have today. So utilize that. Take advantage of that. This thing right here, it's called a brain, is your number one tool. Mm-hmm. It is your number one tool. It will figure everything out for you, which way your body's going to go, what plans you have, and where you're going to be at 5 years from now. So if you continue to work hard and just be a good person, stay away from a lot of the garbage. I'm not saying I was never perfect, but mm-hmm. I had to do right. Do wrong to learn how to do right.
Yeah.
I'm a person that was shot, was dead 3 minutes, and was given an opportunity to breathe another day by Almighty God. And 30-some years later, here I am sitting here talking.
Amen to that. Yes. Thank you for sharing. All righty. So we are in the home stretch, and I'd love to do some rapid fire questions. So the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, here we go. Okay. The first, what is a show that you're currently binge watching?
Oh my goodness.
It's okay. No. If you're not,
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. If you don't watch shows, it's totally fine.
I don't watch too much TV, so.
No, that's totally fine. Okay. The second one, do you have a top like favorite wrestling match?
I'd have to say Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell. Oh, okay, that's a good one. Okay. Yeah. If you could have dinner with 4 goats, greatest people of all time, it could be anyone, who would it be? Past or present? Who would it be? These 4 people. You're at dinner with these 4 people. Who would it be?
4 people. I would say Muhammad Ali, High Chief Peter Maivia. I would say Martin Luther King.
Oh.
Barack Obama.
And that'll be a great dinner. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, 4th one. If you could share the ring, team up with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
Oh, Roman Reigns and Usos.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. Alrighty, last question. I want to continue to highlight our Pasifika athletes. Who is someone that you would like to see on the show?
David Tua.
Oh my God. That is so funny you say that, because I interviewed, I don't know if you've heard of her. She's an 18-year-old Samoan boxer, Faye Faiva. She's legit, and she said David Tua as well. Okay, so I'm gonna need to make that happen. Okay, but Rikishi, right. I want to say thank you so much for joining my show. It was truly an honor to have you here, and I just want your story to inspire and give hope to anyone listening to this, and show them that they can achieve anything they set their mind to by putting in the work. And I want to say thank you all for tuning into Inside the Grind, and Rikishi, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Grinding on my life, sacrifice, hustle pay the price, wanna slice, got the roll of dice, that's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. all my life, grinding all my life, sacrifice.